Welcome to the Being There podcast. Stories from the road, where we keep the rubber side down. These are stories written by my father, Gene McCalmont. Commentary by his son, me, John McCalmont. This is episode 22, titled, I'm Dreaming Of, written November 8th, 2005. This story earned the author, my father, and Ride Texas Magazine their first Katie Award from the Dallas Press Club in 2005, and is considered by many as one of the author's best stories. This is I'm Dreaming Of. I dialed in a couple of extra clicks on the electric vest. It wasn't really that cold. I just wanted a bit more comfort on the trip back home. Riding in the cold wasn't that difficult when you had the right gear. This December had been warmer than most, but the forecasters had warned about an approaching cold front, and I was a little late in heading home. The almost full moon was well up in the east, its glow bathing the landscape in cool white light. Tree shadows cast long, twisted fingers across the roadway. Multicolored lights shone from a distant farmhouse, set against fields of dried grass that appeared white as snow in the moonlight. I could hear the wispy jingle of sleigh bells at the edge of hearing. I thought about the cards I had yet to write, the friends I had yet to call. I still had miles to go. I pulled up to the town's only traffic light and stopped. The lights reflected off the roadway as the old signal twisted in the cold north wind. Brightly colored lights and shimmering decorations filled shop windows on both sides of the street. A man waved at me from an open door of an empty cafe. I eased the bike over and parked it next to the curb. He told me I was nuts to be out on a night like this, and said he'd just brewed a fresh pot if I was interested. You betcha, I told him, and went inside. The smell of fresh brewed coffee and pastries filled the old cafe. A radio in the corner quietly played Christmas music. I drank a cup and had a cookie or two as we talked about family and life in general. He told me about a Harley he once had and how it kept leaving him on the side of the road as he filled my empty cup. I told him that bikes were better these days. He said he was too old to get back into the saddle. Anyway, there were other priorities. I told him I understood. The small bell above the front door jingled as a couple walked in. He rose and greeted them as they laid their heavy coats on the counter. Well, I gotta go, he said. I slipped him some money for the coffee, but he wouldn't take it. Merry Christmas, he said. Ride safely. Come back when you can. Outside, the sky had grown dark and the old traffic signal swung violently in the strong wind. I could feel the sharp stabs of cold air running down my collar. Perhaps I had lingered just a little too long over that last cup of coffee. I pulled to the intersection and pointed the bike toward home. As the lights of the town disappeared in my rearview mirror, I thought about how easily it had been to share some time with a complete stranger. Perhaps it was the season. Perhaps it was the motorcycle. Maybe it was just a cold night, and I looked like I needed a friend. Small flakes of white glistened in my high beam. One there, one in the distance. A couple more now. Oh my, could this be snow? I could see the lights of Denton reflecting off the low-hanging clouds. I was getting closer to home. My feet began to sweat from the cold and my fingers stiffened. I dialed in more heat. It must be close to freezing. The city roadway glistened under the sodium vapor street lamps, in the way that it does when slightly wet. I felt uneasy about being alone. I thought about home and how all the family would be together for the first time in 3 years. Sheets of white flakes rushed ahead of me, spun around and whipped across my helmet. I thought about the generosity of strangers. Melted snow trickled off my face shield and down my collar. I thought about the men and women who served our country and of those who would never come home. A blast of icy wind shook the bike as if taunting me for being out. I thought about the sadness and the joy in people's lives. I pushed on. The house was brightly decorated in lights of red, blue, and green. which reflected off the wet driveway. Several cars were parked near the house. I rode the bike up to the barn and parked it under the overhang. Sheets of snow, falling harder now, drifted past the outside lights, swirling and dancing in the wind. Small piles of snow formed along the walkway and sparkled like tiny diamonds before being swept away. I heard the faint sound of laughter over the wind in the trees. A familiar shape emerged from the back door. "I was worried about you," she said, her warm embrace chasing away the cold. "I'm just running late," I said. "Everyone's here waiting inside," she said, "and dinner is on the stove." We walked together into the house, arm in arm, to the warm embraces and lively conversation of loved ones. 4 inches of snow fell that night and into the next day. It never got above freezing over the next 3 days. It was the first white Christmas in North Texas since 1926. A few really cool things to unpack out of that writing from my dad that won a Katie Award. But first, a little note from my mom about last week's episode, A Girl I Knew. In the commentary, we talked about how my parents have always been very supportive of me following my dreams, and my mom reminded me of a time when I was much younger, where my dad was working for a company making $1,000 a month, but did have health insurance, and their house payment was $300 a month, and they laid him off. My dad, with my help, not much because I was young, we reconstructed the garage into an office, and he started his own training company, doing freelance training jobs. He followed his dreams, and that worked out. And that's one of the reasons why I do this podcast, is to bring those memories up, to have those conversations with my mom. The Katie Award. My father was so proud of that. Not because my dad liked awards. He wasn't really an award kind of guy. But what it did is gave validity to the fact that he was a writer. Now, this is not the first award he had won. He had won many different awards for training modules he had written and massive training programs that he had put together. But those were all the kind of awards that you basically pay for and win so that when you're going after new business, you can say, "Hey, look at all of these awards we've gotten for our training videos and modules. You should use us for yours." This was an award for his creativity, for his storytelling, truly validating the fact that he was a creative writer. Now, granted, all of his writings are based on some type of event or true story in his own life, but isn't all writing based on something and the imagination that goes along with it? I recently pulled up some photos from the snow that had fallen that year. My dad had built this incredibly eclectic timber frame home, and it was the perfect place to have Christmas because it had these massively high ceilings, and of course my dad, being my dad, had the most tall Christmas tree you could stuff in there, and a wood-burning stove instead of a traditional fireplace to keep the house warm. So it just screamed Christmas. And with snow covering and blanketing the ground all around it, well, it was something out of a Christmas story. Do I remember my father pulling up late one evening right before Christmas on his motorcycle to come in late to dinner? Absolutely not. I don't remember that at all. That was not my dad. He would not miss spending time with the family and the grandkids and all of that stuff for anything. Maybe it happened and I don't remember. My mom will let me know. I think that was more of a little bit of his creativity coming out and crafting a story that would hit home with so many people that read it at the time. And hopefully it hit home with you. There's something about the quietness of snow on the ground. We don't experience it in the South near as much as it's experienced in the North, but it makes everything still. Really allows you to have those quiet moments with yourself, especially during the holidays when there's not so much hustle and bustle going on in the world. I'm dreaming of winning my dad and Riot Texas Magazine Acadia Award from the Dallas Press Club. Back in those days, that was a big, big deal. Proud of you, Dad. Thank you for listening and spending this time with me. If this stirs your soul like it stirs mine and you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and follow the podcast so you don't miss future readings and commentary. All written material featured in this podcast is the original work of my father and used with his permission. The thoughts and opinions I share are my own. This recording is for personal listening only. My voice likeness and performance are protected and may not be recorded, reproduced, or used in any form of AI training, cloning, or synthetic replication without my explicit written consent. Thanks again for being here. Until next time, keep the rubber side down and safe travels.